Ben Avery might be best known as the former producer for The Tim Dillon Show, but on October 3rd, 2022, Ben Avery announced on Twitter that he would be leaving The Tim Dillon Show. The exact details of Ben's departure are unknown, but it seems there was some sort of dispute between Tim and Ben that resulted in Ben being fired. But Ben Avery didn't waste any time getting back on his feet. By November 1st, less than a month after being fired from The Tim Dillon Show, Ben Avery launched his own podcast, Lemonparty. Within 3 days, Lemonparty had already amassed 692 patrons and was earning more than $4,000 per month. Since then, Lemonparty has continued to grow steadily, now receiving almost $20,000 per month from roughly 3,500 patrons. The firing of Ben Avery from The Tim Dillon Show was poorly received by the Tim Dillon fanbase. In the months that followed, many of Tim's fans have complained that the quality of the show has plummeted. As of now, The Tim Dillon Show has lost almost 10,000 patrons since its peak in October 2022. So I'm pretty sure a lot of the initial support that Lemonparty received came from disgruntled Tim Dillon fans, but I don't think that would explain why Lemonparty has continued to grow at a steady pace since its launch. No, there must be something to this Lemonparty podcast that makes listeners want to throw their hard-earned money at it. So what exactly is the deal with Lemonparty? Well, first off, if the name sounds familiar to you, that's because Lemonparty is also the name of an old shock image that people used to try to trick their friends into looking at back in the old days of the internet. So you probably don't want to do a Google image search for this podcast. Anyway, Lemonparty is hosted by Ben Avery, Devan Costa, and Jace Avery. We've already talked plenty about Ben's background, but who are these other two guys? Well, Devan Costa is a stand-up comedian that, like Ben Avery, was affiliated with The Tim Dillon Show. For a short period of time, it seemed like Devan was going to be an official second mic on The Tim Dillon Show, but I guess that didn't pan out. Devan also has his own podcast, Hate Watch, and he has a YouTube channel where he's made some pretty hilarious skits. Jace Avery, as you may have guessed, is the brother of Ben Avery. He's also a stand-up comedian, but he was mostly unknown prior to the debut of Lemonparty. With that said, he's become a bit of a fan favorite. Lemonparty has the typical three guys just hanging out format that many other comedy podcasts use, so with podcasts like this, the quality really just depends on two things. One, how funny, interesting, or likable the hosts are, and two, guest appearances. Well, Lemonparty is still a very young podcast, only having 17 free episodes and another 17 Patreon exclusive episodes, but so far there has only been one guest. Now, that one guest appearance was Matt McCusker of Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast, and it was a great episode. But obviously, Lemonparty isn't standing on the backs of great guest appearances. It must be the hosts themselves that have kept Lemonparty growing at a steady pace since its inception. So what is it about Lemonparty that keeps listeners coming back for more? The Lemonparty boys are pretty funny, but if I'm being honest, none of them are on the level of popular hosts of other similar podcasts like Nick Mullen or Shane Gillis. Of course, that's just my opinion. I'm sure many of you will disagree with that. But anyway, one thing I've seen mentioned by lots of Lemonparty fans is how the hosts, especially Ben and Jace, often make somewhat obscure references to things that really activates the nostalgia of a certain demographic. I mean, if you think about it, some of the biggest things friends bond over are inside jokes and shared experiences. When you hear Jace riffing about P. Diddy's assistant in 2004 or whatever, you might think, hey, I haven't thought about that in years. And your subconscious begins to register that Jace is your friend. After all, you now have an inside joke about an experience you both share. Sure, it's not actually an inside joke in the classical sense, considering you aren't actually a part of it, and the joke itself is broadcast publicly to anyone that cares to listen, but your brain probably can't tell the difference. So each time the Lemonparty boys riff on something kinda obscure or make a subtle reference to something you know about, there's an illusory bond between you and the host that is strengthened in your brain. Now you're not just listening to a funny podcast. You're hanging out with your friends. You're not alone anymore. You have friends. I guess that concept could apply to almost any podcast, but it is something I've specifically seen mentioned by several Lemonparty fans. And it's probably all BS anyway. I don't know what I'm talking about. I mean, Jace and Ben Avery are brothers, and they do often regale listeners with tales from their younger years, so it does make sense that Lemonparty probably has a higher than average concentration of nostalgic references for those born in the late 80s to early 90s. In fact, I had a theory that most Lemonparty fans were in the same age demographic as the three hosts, so I polled users of the Lemonparty subreddit on their ages, and it is true that the majority of listeners are between 25 and 35 years of age. That might also have something to do with why so many Lemonparty fans like to compare the show to another, now defunct, comedy podcast. If you don't know about Cuptown, I'll leave a link in the description to my video where I explain it in detail, but basically it was an extremely popular comedy podcast running from 2016 to 2022, where 3 stand-up comedians would hang out and just joke around. It was known for its inappropriate and crass humor, often classified as racist, homophobic, and sexist by its detractors. But Cuptown fans often joke about their parasocial relationships with the show's hosts. The show is sometimes jokingly referred to as a friendship simulator, and one of the most common memes you'll find Cuptown fans regurgitating relentlessly is them saying that Nick Mullen is their best friend. So I think Lemonparty does have a lot in common with Cuptown. The format is pretty much the same, the hosts are in roughly the same age range, and the humor of both shows could be described as edgy or inappropriate. So I get the comparisons. Cuptown officially ended in June 2022, but even before that, there was a notable contingent of the fanbase that seemed to think the show wasn't as good as it used to be. So I think for a lot of people, Lemonparty could be filling a void that was left when Cuptown ended. But Lemonparty definitely is not Cuptown, and it isn't the Tim Dillon show either. The 3 comedians hanging out and riffing format may be familiar, but I wouldn't say Lemonparty is derivative of any other show. Ben Avery, Jace Avery, and Devan Costa are 3 hilarious guys that have a great chemistry together, and Lemonparty is absolutely worth checking out if you enjoy comedy podcasts. But there is one important thing I'd like to address. Ben and sometimes Jace often do this annoying South Park voice whenever they're doing an impression of a stupid person.
Nah, come on, Devin, Jace, admit, we're all big Ali Wong fans.
No, I'm kidding.
That shit's annoying. Stop that.